when you're not getting compensation. All right, so let's take a look at this. So we all know how to make walls, right? So we did the exterior wall, right? We made the exterior wall. Interior walls are a little bit more straightforward. So you should make your own interior wall. So we'll find some interior walls, but I don't know if we'll get exactly what we want. So we can quickly make an interior wall. So you can just pick, again, like a 5 generic, edit family, right? We duplicate. We never sort of rework that. So we can say interior. So if we use a 2x4 is actually what? 3.5. And how big is drywall? 8, right? So someone do the math real quick. So 5/8 plus 5/8 is 1 1/4. Is that right? Plus 3.5 is how much? 4 3/4. So what's that? 5/8 on both sides. Or if you have a cheap developer, 1/2 inch on both sides. So we're at 4 3/4. So typically we do say 5 inch. Again, plus or minus. Again, your guys' drawings will always be suggestions. The contractor will do whatever they want. So maybe that's why they just go 5 inch. Where do you guys measure from when you dimension? Although we're not dimensioning, how do you dimension drawings? Should be all like quizzes. Do you dimension to center or outside face or? Who says center? Who says like to face?
Well, the carpenter's going to hate you if you go edge. Like,
What? I got a minus 5/8? You could dimension to the face of the stud.
Yeah, you could.
That's actually pretty good. I've done that in the past too. That way, and you dimension from one side down, right? So they were sort of working from, typically, from one wall and start laying out and hope to God the building is within a couple of inches. So, things to think about. Again, we're not going to be doing construction documents. So interior. So we can say 4 3/4, right? So if we go to our structure, we should know how to do this. So this would be 3.5, right? And then we insert 2 layers. Take one up, take one down. Now there is no really outside inside. We'll say finish 1. And we can say gypsum. And we'll say 5/8. And whatever, you guys can do whatever you want. You can do wood, sure. I'm trying to remember how they label it.
Metal stud.
Yeah, metal.
Metal stud layer.
There it is. So this has to be 5/8. So again, we spend this little upfront time, and again, we can preview it. So there's our total thickness. We verify it, right? 4 3/4. Okay. So now we have our wall, so we can draw our wall. So there's our little interior room. And again, if we change our detail to fine, we can start to see a little bit more, especially if we change to thin lines. So view thin lines, detail level, and this is per view, right? So we can change this per view. So if we zoom in here, we can start to see some detail. And if we change our scale, especially if we, depending on what we'll start to see more detail in the sense of hatching, right? So all this sort of scaling is set up when we start laying them on sheets. just so you guys have a heads up, right?
Does Revit have the ability to show studs, actual studs?
No, you would have to frame it up. Like to,
Hands are allowed?
yeah. Well, we can make. We don't have. You don't have to manually draw it. We can make. Yeah, we can make like a. Like you draw a line and it puts them in. Even I can set that up, so it lays them in. You don't need it though. Why would you want to do that? Unless you're doing.
No, I'm just like if you were doing detail. Like
If you're doing like a framing diagram, like if you ever
I never
did.
got that far in Revit with Ivan.
Yeah, if you ever did like a frame, like you really wanted to do like a serious framing model,
Right.
you can 100%. And then you get into more of the structural. You start working more in this range where you're making, you're better off working with, because then you can really study structurally, like study it. To do it just for representation is a waste
No,
of
not
time.
with that, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The only other thing is in quantity. If you're going to be that crazy and like want to know exactly how, like to the length,
No.
which is, I'm that type of person. Sure. So,
Right, you did something with metal studs and you're.
we did, I've done this, competition we did, back in the day. It's a little hard to see here, but we drew everything, like all this, like everything. And then we're able to like count everything, like every piece was modeled. It's a little hard to see there. You see it a little bit better in here. So like everything, every little connect. So we did this on purpose to see like, hey, can we figure out how many panels you have? Because the whole idea is like you built this and then it got recycled into this. So we wanted like full quantity count. So we did this all in Revit. So yeah, you can do this stuff and get quantities, but be careful. You can do it if you want to crash your computer. So if we go into a 3D view, here's our little box. So we are doing the wall openings, right, where we make an opening. Oh, did I just crash this? And we have an opening. But a lot of times, we're going to start doing let's start with doors, right? So we're going to use doors. And those doors will automatically make an opening for us, right? So if we pick like this flush door and we plop this in here, basically this family allows us to, place a door, which is obviously sitting on the ground, but then also, have all the components like the jamb, the actual, the frame, and then also the door itself. And then we can show it at different sizes and so forth. So this is a family, all right? So to demystify like all of this parts, and I think like what happens is a lot of times people get hung up on like, hey, this is what I got to use. This is the family. We can customize these. So we can look at door families and customize them and make our own. So what happens if we go to the application icon and we look at families and we go to family new, there's a whole set of templates, okay? So we can go to a door template. And if we go to the door template, we can see how this door template works. So we can start to get a feel for what's being done. So this is basically a template with a lot of parameters. What we're seeing here are parameters. Let me make that text smaller. And these parameters do a couple things. They punch the hole. It's a void. So all these tools, like I want you guys to feel comfortable, like this door tool does a bunch of things for you. It like basically punches, it makes a void in the wall based on a size, which is the opening, and then makes a sweep. It does like all the modeling stuff for you. And this all has different parameters. So if we pick on this stuff, you can see this is just a 3D modeled shape. And it has very specific parameters, like what the depth is. And eventually we can make our own things. Now doors are it's a very specific type of parameter. But these are actual parameters like the projection for the frame. And if you saw, like we look from the top view, There's equal for like the opening, like how it mirrors it. So there's all this sort of setup that's done, so when we plop this door in, it automatically aligns properly and so forth. So we can customize these things. Now obviously we probably don't want to spend too much time customizing too much, but if I click here on the family types, this gives us all the parameters that are preset. So if I come here, so these are all the parameters. So like width, height, if it's an interior or exterior. So this has all been set up for us. The frame projection, the frame width. So that's the door frame. We can turn them on and off. So we can customize that specific door to have different type of tech. And there's also the rough. Let's open this up. The rough width, the rough height that we can place in. So these are all, this width and height are parameters. So if we change it, it's going to update. All right. So we see these parameters in that. So once we load this into the family, so you guys know how this is working, and we come here and we say edit type, we see those exact same parameters under the type, the family type. So again, it's a very simple concept, and typically the doors that these are representing something. It's not the end of the world, but when it comes to make our own custom families, this is going to be important. Okay, to at least to get the idea, right? So it's just how it works, and the walls work the same way as well. I mean, it's a family. And again, we see all these families down here, so we can see what's loaded. Right now, single flush is loaded. And if I right-click and I go to type properties, I bring exactly, these are all the type properties for these doors that are all these parameters are being set in the family. Right, which is...
You could pull that molding off and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can come here and turn things off. You can turn it off here and reload it. So I can take all my frame.
You want to do something more modern with reveal and no molding, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so we can take all, should turn it off. And maybe it's not going to turn it off in here, but I can turn it off in the... So if I come back here, oops. Typically I can turn that off in here as well. Well, it's giving me the set.
Modify it.
Yeah, we can modify it. So won't let me go to 0. It's funny, it didn't let me go to 0. But what we can do, we can delete it and then load it back in. And I should have overwritten it. Hold on, let me do a save as. So there it is. Now the door went away with it. Looks like I deleted the door. So you can customize.
All right.
So this just has a whole. Yeah, and if you want to make, I mean, if you want to make these custom elements, so if we come here, so let's go to this door. Let's go in here. If we go into 3D view, what can I start doing? I can start creating a sweep, right? So if I make a sweep, I can pick the path. So this is where we can start custom modeling all this. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and sketch this shape. So I can make a custom shape. So let's go ahead and just make something that's going to be obviously visible. So I'll sweep this. All right. Now if I load this back in, our door has the trim. And that's on the, and I have it on the inside. So it's no problem. Say I want it on the outside. Just flip it. So we can customize all of this, all right?
Can you do the same thing with boards? So if you reveal into the wall? So if you had a piece of trim and then a reveal and step back into the wall?
One more time. Sorry.
Can you do a piece of trim with a reveal next to it and the reveal
Yeah,
is
that's
a
what I was
wave
thinking.
that goes into the wall?
Yeah, but we do it different.
That's
So
what I was
we
saying.
do reveals on. So there's if we're doing like, so if we pick a wall, like watch this. So say we have specific things, 2 walls. If I go to edit type and I go to edit, what I can do is down here is I can start to insert, hold on, let me go to section. So you got to switch to section. So here's a section. So what I can do here is add sweeps or reveals. So I can add a detail. So I got to load a profile. So this is how we do all the trim stuff. So I need to load a profile. So we need to make a profile. So let me make a profile first. All right. So say we want to add base trim, and then we want to do some type of reveal above the base trim. All right. You know, which we'll just. So we're going to go ahead and make a new family, and we're going to make a profile family. Okay? So we're just going to make a profile. So, and we typically have to remember like what side and inside, so sometimes we goof this up. But I'm just going to draw a profile. Say we're doing something 6 inches tall, and then say like, I'm just going to do something just real quick. So say this is our profile. I'm going to save this. Storing everything on desktop. So it's going to be our trim profile. Say 01. I can load that into the family. So if I come here and pick that wall and edit the type, I have to switch the section, edit, and then typically we want to zoom down here. And then we'll go with sweeps. Let's see if, so we can add a profile, and let's see, our profile should come.
Trim profile, hold on.
There it is. You guys have better eyes than I do. So we add a profile, we load it, and then we can apply it, and then we can see we have it on the wrong side. So this is how you learn. So we got to go back to our profile. Just hit OK for now, and just hit OK, and just hit OK. It's inside our wall right now. We can't see it. But if I come here, all I got to do is mirror this. Sorry, I'm like in a different program.
Yeah.
It's my day.
It's called bipolar cell phone.
Yeah, hold on. I gotta. Okay. So I'm gonna keep on at. So I'm gonna load this. I'm gonna overwrite. So then I'll flip on the right side. So that's on the. That's going on the inside right now. So we can. no problem. You know, these walls have inside and outsides, so I can flip it. Let me undo that. If we use the tab key, we can pick all the walls and not flip it. Sorry, so we got to flip them individually. So now if we go to 3D view, there's our trim. And we have issues with the door. How it's dealing with openings. And we can customize all of that. So if we modify, we can modify that. Let's go back to sweeps though. Hold on. Let's go back to sweeps, because we got to do it in the sweep. Exterior from base, top, setback, cut wall, cuttable. Cuttable didn't do it. Again, some things won't be perfect. We should be able to set that off. That's why you guys will figure it out. But the cool thing is what you can do. So we can start setting up parameters. So I make this a dimension, and then I add a parameter, and I say trim height. And we're going to do more of this. I'm doing this pretty fast. And then I reload this into the project, and I overwrite with its parameter values, so it updates it with parameter values. Now when I'm in here, I can come to the family, and we're going to look for profiles. Find my trim profile. Come here, right click, and go to type properties. And we'll have this parameter, which is trim height. And if I change this now to say 1 foot and apply and hit OK, it'll up it 1 foot. So this is where we start making our own parameters, similar to the way the door is, right? So we can make this profile with these parameters and then adjust them. So you don't have to have like 20 profiles. So that's sort of one trick. So when you guys can start building your walls. I mean, take it easy with the trim stuff. But let's look at making reveals. And reveals are a little tricky because sometimes, oh, not our exterior wall. What did I do? Oh, it's just our trim, sorry. So let's go to section. So we can edit. So we did sweep, so we can do reveals. So add a reveal. So let's just use a C channel right now. So let's move this up. Guess flipping it maybe won't do it. So this will make a cut. So this is making, I use the C channel to basically be a void, just so you guys can see it. But this makes like a reveal in the wall. So you can make your own profile, reveal profile, and then sweep it. And then you can also do in the wall, besides reveal, we can split it. Like split the wall, so exactly, so the wall like changes. So maybe it's like concrete to this height, and all of a sudden it becomes something else. I haven't done this very much, but you know, go ahead and I haven't really dealt with that too much. I mean, this is probably doing some interior sweeps. So if you're doing interior elevations, you get, trim and so forth. But you guys can start doing, I would start adding doors. If you want to start adding the sweeps, the trims, that's fine. And again, we can do this. If we come here and we're doing, sweeps, we can add sweeps, add the same trim profile. And then do interior side, so we have it on both sides. So now it's both on the inside and outside. Okay, so we can start getting some detail in there. So again, don't overwork yourself with that. But now we can start creating the walls, all right? And then the same thing we can do with the floors. So our floors. Just make a floor real quick. So we can start thinking about the floors. We can duplicate. If I can spell it right, sorry. So the same thing. So if we have, finished material, and you want to have some type of finished material, yeah, I guess we might have some limited choices. So if you don't see a specific material here, let's open an existing library. So we can go to open existing library, and yeah, it's not pathed. So I'm not sure if on these computers if this is going to be. On your home computers, you might get more luck. Let's see if we can find it. So the other thing is there's the material browser. Let's see if we get any. Well, just has hardwood. And let's go further down. So there's some flooring. So there we go. So if you want a specific type of flooring, we can get it in there. Whoa, wait a minute. We're on our floor, right?
Oh, it's actually, yes, so that's, you change the metal stud layer to be that type of wood floor.
Oh, is that what I did?
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then it's really-
So we need to make a new material. So we'll create a new material. Then we can rename it. So this will be wood flooring. And then we'll apply the missed one step. Here we are. So go 3/4. So yeah, we won't see this until we get to like where our top isn't. And this looks as bad as some of the renderings of that Helsinki competition, right? They must have done it in Revit. It's like, oh no, Return of the Dune, you ever Doom was the game, right? The bad map.
It's very
Is
Yeah.
there a way to make it look more realistic and all this?
Not in the preview. I mean, if we render it, it'll start to look like something, you know, like a bad
Very shy.
project. So, you know. So the last thing I want to show is the cameras. So I think you guys have to start putting in some cameras, and be careful. I think don't over compartmentalize your interiors, right? You know, unless you have a lot of space. So you guys have lived in a house, I assume, so we'll use your life experience. Sorry, let me go back to a. So if we're looking here and we want to set up a camera, we can go ahead and go to View, 3D View, Camera. And then we can click and then look. Okay? And this will set up the beginnings of a camera. This is sort of our, you know, extent of what our camera is seeing. So this is like our crop. There's also, if you go back to level 1, and we'll lose this. So if we go back to, our camera is here now. We have to right click and say show camera. And now reappear the camera. So you have to take care, this is the crop. This is like where it crops it. So if we're in the 3D view, it'll like cut it too short. That's why we're missing the floor there. So if you go back to level, you always want to make sure, and this is, yeah, this is like our target. We want to make sure our crop is good. That's where we're pointing. Again, if you lose the camera, right click, show camera. The other thing we can do, you can see the far clipping box. We can also make a section box and do like a section cut. So we won't do that right now, but eventually we can make like perspective section cuts, which are maybe sometimes interesting. But this will allow us to eventually do that. Can we, the camera, yeah, yeah, you know, if we make a section cut, like, we can't really see it right now because it's way off the screen. But if we were to pull, so I pulled the back side, but say we go this way, we can cut the building. And then we can start setting up our camera like that. So this is how we can start making those perspective sections. Okay. So you know, and it's actually nice because you actually see like, hey, see material. But I think for you guys, you can use the camera to start to, you know, start to understand your space and get a feel for what the interiors are. Yes.
Can the walkthroughs go upstairs?
Say it one more time.
Walkthrough.
The wall, what?
The walkthrough.
Don't use the walkthrough. No.
Okay.
I would control the camera. Okay. So start making the interior walls. Start thinking about, you know, if there's doors or if they just sort of punched openings. So for the interiors. And then ultimately we'll go back to the exterior walls and start adding windows, like looking at the windows and making our own custom windows per se. And then I think, you know, the next part is making this 3D model, which I want you guys to print, but I want to print larger. So last time we were going to do it as these plates and walls, but then John, you know, kept on mentioning about flipping the model on its side. So we're only cleaning out like half of the stuff, but I think that's still not going to work because we'll have trapped areas. So the next thing, what I'm thinking is, rather than 3D printing the floors, this would be a good opportunity to use the laser cutter. And we just laser cut, the floors out of acrylic. And I know some of you guys have acrylic and some of you don't have acrylic because some of you guys are doing acrylic stuff. So I think we need to figure out what we need, like acrylic wise, and then we can just order the acrylic, maybe as one batch. Or if someone lives somewhere near Western and like Chicago, not Western, and like Diversey, there's there's a place that sells acrylic.
Oh, but Matt said he's looking to work out on.
Peterson Plastics.
He said he
Western University, is that correct?
Let me take a look.